It's the JT Cho Show!
10,
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the JT Show. This is episode number 53. Today is the 6th of spooky season, and that's October of 2020. Sorry if I'm being a little loud for your ears, right? Meow. I'm going to bring in another one of my usual guests, a good friend of mine, Frank the Tank. But yeah, we're going to bring in Frankie for episode 53. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff today, so hopefully you like, comment, subscribe, ask questions, give me topics that you want me to talk about. These are what I want you to do. jtofjville.com gives you access to everything. I'm going to be going over a lot of stuff with Frank. He's a near and dear friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Graybars. Now, at this time, I wish I had the Home Improvement theme song, the da 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 da, the dun dun, because I was like, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Frank Graybars, and I'd like to, once I build an actual studio and have like more sound stuff that I create myself, I'll have to start doing that, for these Zoom calls, of course. How you been, Frank?
I've been busy. It's been an interesting month and a half or so.
Yeah.
But been super busy. Just got back from Pennsylvania last week, and then catching up on schoolwork and my work. So.
Right. Yeah, schoolwork's never fun. I've been there. I've done it. I never want to do it again. Even though I get emails from places that are like, hey, come get your doctorate. I'm like, do you know how much, I'm not smart enough for that? Do you know how much work I would actually have to pour into that? I think once you get to your graduate degree, I wouldn't recommend taking off and just get your degrees. I'd actually try to learn, but you can slack. But once you get past that level, you have to apply the things that you're supposed to be learning, because you can't just turn in bullshit,
Yeah.
But schoolwork's never fun. Yeah, we planned for 5 o'clock. It's a little after 5, and what happened was the house that I moved into, the basement, I have to constantly air refreshen, and I have to sweep the carpets. It's because there's this lingering smell of old animal, and that causes my dogs to want to come down to the basement and just piss in the carpet. And it's one of those things that it's not like I don't let these dogs go outside. One, I'll tell a story after this, but it's part of my neighbor's fault sometimes when they get scared. But two, they're outside so many times, and then I let them back inside, and they're just like, I just got to piss down here because I got to let everybody know that this is my fucking basement. So right when we were about to start, my husky border collie came right downstairs, looked me dead in my fucking eye, and just started pissing right in front of me. And I had to be like, God damn it, So I had to clean that up. And then I got mad, and I just started tearing up the carpet. So I have a major renovation going on in my hands now. I'm going to tear up it's 1,700 square feet of approximately of carpet. And I'm going to tear up all fucking 1,700 square feet of carpet.
That sounds like a great time.
Yeah, it sounds fucking terrible. So you were in Philly, and that's one of our, let me get this out of the way. Part of the reasons my dog gets scared, though, is because my neighbor, he flies his drone in his yard, and his dogs chase the drone around, and they bark at it. I guess he doesn't have a day job, because it's usually any fucking time of the day. I work nights, so, I'm home during the day, and a lot of the times when my dogs hear those dogs yapping, they want to go outside to see what's going on. And he took the liberty upon himself to fly his drone well into my yard. It's not like our fences connect. It's not like my dog fence hits his natural fence to his yard. There's about a 10-foot gap. And it's not like it's hovering a little bit over the fence. Now, he was deliberately giving himself permission to fly his drone over my animals because he thought it was amusing and they would like it too. But one of my dogs has mild anxiety. He does have doggy Xanax prescribed to him. Okay. I don't make this up. And so I gave him one warning. I said, I even came out pleased. I didn't want to come out like, hey, motherfucker, like I'll John Wick your ass. I didn't want to come out and do that. I didn't want to start a neighbor war. So I just said, hey, man, can you please stop doing what you're doing? And he's just like, oh, I'm sorry. And I was like, look, I was just like, I basically said in a gist, yeah, this is the last time I ever want to talk about this. And he's like, okay, man, like, I don't want to have to come out here and warn you again. Because, I had a conversation with my Faja, and he said, what are you going to do, call the cops? I'm like, fuck no, I'm going to go outside with a baseball bat and hit that motherfucker out of the air, man. Like, these dogs are all I got, But you recently went to Philly, and Philly is part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you today. And that's being a Philadelphia sports fan. Now, it's very rough. Tell me right now in your life what it's like to be a Philly sports fan and kind of where you want to go with it.
So you think you get used to it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Since I was a little kid, up until 2008 when the Phillies won the World Series.
Okay.
No Philadelphia major sports team had won a championship in years. I think the last one to win a championship were the Sixers in 80 through, I forget, in the 80s.
Yeah.
So the Phillies won a World Series in 1980. The Flyers haven't won a Stanley Cup since the 70s.
1983. Keep going.
1983 was the last championship in the city, was the Sixers.
Right.
And the Eagles had never won a Super Bowl. They only won NFL championships. And
right.
That was back in the 60s.
Yeah.
So as a little kid growing up, I never experienced the teams winning. We always got close, especially Eagles years with Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens and making it to the Super Bowl, losing to the Pats.
Was that 2003?
Four. Yeah, 2004.
Yeah.
It was in Jacksonville they lost.
I was at a great Super Bowl party in the 7th or 8th grade.
I was at home in front of my TV with my parents, and they lost, and I was upset.
Right.
Because after all those years, those 4 NFC championships beforehand, or the 3 before that one, you're sitting there and you just want to see them win it, and you didn't. So then it got so bad as Philly fans that we started rooting for a horse. I don't even remember what the horse's name was, but the horse could have completed the Triple Crown.
Right.
And we're like, yeah, let's go. The horse is from Philly. And the horse lost. So as Philly fans, we're like, all right, horse can't win. Our teams can't win. I think we held a Super Bowl parade for not a Super Bowl. We held a championship parade for the Philadelphia Soul of the Arena Football League.
Wow.
So it was like, hey, first championship in the city.
Yeah.
That was an Arena Football League team. So then finally, the Phillies make it to the World Series. And prior to that, I was, I got to watch the first round of the divisional series where they beat the Brewers.
Right.
And then I had to go to basic training.
Yeah.
And so I missed the Phillies winning the World Series because I was in basic.
Was Howard on that team?
Yeah, Ryan Howard. Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Pat Burrell.
Solid squad.
And then they go back to the World Series the following year against the Yankees and lose. And I got to watch that.
Fucking Yanks.
Yeah, I hate them.
Gross.
And then the following year after that, they got Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, and then rest in peace, Roy Halladay. And then they lost. Roy Halladay had the no-hitter against the Reds. Almost had a perfect game. Then we lost to the St. Louis Cardinals in the championship series, the NLCS. And then after that year, the Flyers went to the Stanley Cup to lose to the Blackhawks. And so I was like, I'm going to keep watching my teams lose. Penn State doesn't do anything, but they're not really Philly.
Right.
I got to see Villanova win 2 national championships, but again, they're not really Philly. Philly doesn't call them Philly because they're outside of the city.
I actually got to see Villanueva win a championship in person too.
I know. I remember you messaging me.
Upsetting.
It was.
Sadly.
Hey, Michigan had a great squad that year.
Yeah, but we just didn't fucking guard one motherfucker that dropped 30 points on us in the final game.
I know. What do they call him? What did Shannon Sharp call him? It's like he looked like the guy from White Men Can't Jump.
Oh,
Um,
goddamn. References that we can't think of on the spot. That's the worst part about getting old.
so after that, I finally got to watch the Eagles win
Right.
in 2017, and I was trashed. And I remember I got down when Brady threw up the Hail Mary. I was on my knees, and I put my head down, and I looked back up, and I see the ball drop, and I immediately put my head down, and I start tearing up. And Guck actually came over to me and patted me on the back, and
You were in hostile territory, by the way, too. You were a lot of Pats fans around you at that time.
yeah, that night. And so he puts his hand on my back, and he's like, "Hey, man, congratulations! I know the feeling. It's a great feeling." And I sat up, and I was like, "Did I just witness this?" I called Nikki, and
And she was like, okay.
I woke her up. I was like, "Babe, we're Super Bowl champions."
Right. It's a huge deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a huge deal. And she's
Huge
like,
fucking
"Okay."
deal.
She's like, "Okay, you just woke me up for this." I was like, "But we're Super Bowl champs. I've never seen this in my entire life."
Right.
And so I run out in the streets of Clovis, New Mexico. I start screaming, "We're Super Bowl champs." I then I'm not a real religious person, but I kind of looked up to the sky and I went, "You could take me now, God. I have seen what I needed to see."
Thank you. God, I
And
know I
then,
haven't been there before, but I promise. You know, we've been
thank you
there.
for everything.
Yeah.
And then we're back to mediocrity again. So
Yeah. A lot of the shit, because we have a mutual group of friends. We have group chats that we still talk to each other. You're one of the people that I fucks with on a regular basis. And I always tease is a lack of a better word for talking shit, but I always call you ungrateful because it's only been 2 years. In the 2 year, it's 2020. Eagles won in 2018. In those 2 years, because I mean, you're a Philly fan still. I know you're living in Florida now, and Tampa Bay's just knocking on your fucking door. Hey, Frank, come over. Frank, come here.
yeah.
In those 2 years, what do you think is the reason for such a fucking decline of a Super Bowl championship team in 2 years?
Well, with all Super Bowl teams, players leave, for bigger contracts and stuff.
Got my ring. Yeah.
Got my ring. You're never going to keep that
No.
core group together.
Right.
Honestly, I think it is a lack of. I think it's just Howie Roseman. I mean, he has been praised for some of the steals that he's had. When he got that Jay Ajayi trade that year, they won the Super Bowl. So they had that. You had LeGarrette Blount
that year, so that was a great year for me.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount, Jay Ajayi, Corey Clement, and so that three-headed monster of a running game. And then after that, he kind of got Jordan Howard out of nowhere last year with the Bears from the Bears, but he just doesn't. I don't think he doesn't draft well. He thinks he can just get these pieces in free agency,
right?
And I think it's also I think it's a cockiness within the organization that says, "Hey, we won before, not doing the typical stuff that other teams do, and let's continue to do it without changing anything and realizing the times change." They had the Super Bowl run. They used a lot of RPOs, right? And it wasn't. I mean, it was in the league, but it wasn't prevalent in the league,
right?
And then teams the next year started to adapt to that, right? Other teams started picking up. It's a copycat league. Other teams the following year started using RPO plays. And then defenses learned how to defend against it. And then Doug Peterson doesn't change up his game plan. He doesn't care. He's
running out the glory of the Super Bowl to keep a job.
Yeah, he said, "I'm fearless." He wrote his book, fearless. And I'm like, well, you're worthless, dude, right now.
Yeah.
He has the mindset of he's an Andy Reid protege, right?
Right.
Now, Andy Reid did just win the Super Bowl with the Chiefs last year. But Andy Reid had that mindset when he was with Philly for so long. It was his way. He was going to do it his way. Offensive coordinators really didn't do much. I mean, they probably do stuff, but Andy Reid's
They
the
do a
shot
lot of
caller.
stuff. Don't get me wrong, but it depends if your head coach is a play caller or not. If your head coach is a Mike McCarthy, or if your head coach trusts in the offensive coordinator to call the plays. Like you have your Zimmerman. Zimmerman's the coach of the Vikings. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. He calls the defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike McCarthy gave it up every once in a while for the Packers, but that was ultimately his downfall because he just did not know how to fucking run that offense.
Yep. And that's kind of where, I mean, Doug Peterson was the offensive coordinator for Andy Reid.
Yeah.
And Andy Reid calls all his plays. So Doug Peterson comes to Philly and he becomes the offensive coordinator. And then he calls the play, sorry. And then you got, Frank Reich left. And a lot of these guys that were molding Wentz. And I think you got to even give it up that weight is on Wentz's shoulders, man. He helped the team get to the first seed in the playoffs that year, but Nick Foles finished the job.
Yeah.
And the team drafts Jalen Hurts this year. So it's like, and the city's already calling for Wentz's head.
There's whispers for Hurts. They're whispering for them to start Hurts right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even really a whisper. It's more of a roar. It's coming alive.
That's Philly fans for you. And so they're screaming, we want Wentz gone. Wentz is sitting there. He's in his own head. Doug Peterson doesn't know how to really adapt and change his play style. And then I don't know how any of these medical staff have a job. For the last several years, this team has consistently been injured.
Right.
And, I moderate a NFC East Facebook page. And it's one of the guys on it who's the other Eagles fan on the page. He brought up a valid point to me the other day. He goes, say what you want about Chip Kelly. But Chip Kelly's like health science, sports science that he was having the players do, the way they ate, they weren't allowed to really drink alcohol. They had to do all these types of workouts and stuff like that. Say what you want about all that, but that team was never injured.
Right. And some players are more opposed to that than not. There's some players that say, I'm a man. I'm not in college. I'm a grown man. Mm-hmm. I'm 20 to, 40 years old-ish. Some older. Tom Brady. Don't fucking tell me what to do because I'm a man, Yeah. So it's tough for a head coach to do that. But it pays off.
It does. And it paid off for that team. And so I just say, in general, I think it's just the cockiness within the system. They're sitting there and it worked before and they're not adapting. And like all coaches, Doug Peterson, after every loss, he's like, it's on me. We got to do better. And you're like, dude, I want to hear more than we got to do better.
Right.
Do you know what I want to see the NFL adapt?
Go ahead.
So there's a documentary on Netflix.
Okay. I love documentaries.
Docuseries, whatever. It's about Sunderland soccer in England. Sunderland used to play in the Premier League. They got bumped down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Sunderland soccer, it's the city I think is in like northeast England. Their fans love, most European soccer, most English soccer, right? Or football, sorry. The fans love it, right? They live, breathe, eat soccer.
You bleed for those fucking colors over there.
Oh, they bleed for it. They beat people up. They cut people. It's worse than the United States.
It's some European rivalry, like some European rivals are greater than like Ohio State, Michigan. I have Ohio State friends, but there's certain people. I mean, there's certain people on both sides, but I'd say that I'd say European rivalries are probably like, I'm gonna say like top tier, like Yankees, Red Sox, uh, Wolverines, Ohio State, Cowboys, and everybody else because we all fucking hate the Cowboys. I mean, there's certain rivalries in America where you're like, you know, I can still see the other point, but European soccer sometimes when you really see those crowds fuck those places up, dude. But that's all they have, you know. They don't have the diversity of sports that we do. They have one ride or fucking die.
Yeah.
Ooh, let's watch handball.
Let's watch cricket.
Yeah. I don't even know how to fucking score. Hit the ball with the big stick, hit the ball, run back and forth, protect some pins. I don't fucking care.
Yeah,
I'd rather watch NASCAR.
Yeah. Or curling.
Get her done. Hey, don't talk shit about. No, I'm just joking. Curling hold. I mean, for an American, if you're listening in Ghana, Switzerland, I've had a couple in England. If you're listening, don't take this the wrong way. But curling, by the way, ever since Mr. Dadbot, I don't know his first name, with the mustache and the team of dads, they were just like, let's just fucking get good at curling, and they won, dude. I mean, fuck, dude, that's like, make that a fucking Disney classic original movie, you know?
Yeah.
Make
That would be.
Put a lot of beer drinking and dad jokes in it. It'll sell.
Miracle on Ice too.
Yeah, have Adam Sandler play the main character.
Yeah. Or Kevin, what's his name?
Kevin James.
Paul Blart.
Yeah. What was his old show? King of
Queens.
King of Queens. Yeah.
I love him in Hitch, by the way.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, in Sunderland, right? They so in this docuseries, there's 3 seasons, I believe, and if your listeners in England, I'm so sorry if I don't know where Sunderland is. I said Northeast England. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry.
No fucking idea.
But they so like they get out of work early for the games. They like things shut down. They go to the pub, they go home, they go to the stadium. Well, I saw them do this one thing, and I want the NFL and all major U.S. sports to do.
It's the northern part. It's really north, by the way. You're right.
Really north.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in it where they all meet up at this local pub, and you've got their GM, the GM, the head coach, a couple other of their top brass, and a few players actually go to this pub and they hold a town hall meeting. Right. And so then certain locals that are able to get in there are sitting there and they get to ask them questions like, hey, you know, we need a midfielder, and why aren't you going out and trying to get a midfielder, you know?
Right.
I guess their deadlines or whatever is coming down to borrow somebody or whatever. And they're just like, why aren't you doing this? And then the coaches and everybody are asking them questions. They're answering the questions. And so they're back and forth answering and asking in this little town hall meeting. And I was like, why aren't we doing that in U.S. sports? I mean, okay, the press, I wish the press would ask more questions. That's one thing, you know, majoring in journalism and wanting to become a sports journalist, I wanted to ask the hard-hitting questions that piss off the coaches, you know, but
right.
the answers that the fans want.
Right. If you don't mind if I interrupt,
no, yeah.
I have a minor in journalism, major in broadcasting for my undergrad, and then my master's is in coaching athletic administration. So I mean, I have a little dabble that I'm allowed to fucking talk about sports.
Oh yeah,
a little bit of a dabble,
of course.
A lot of the fucking media these days just talk about the fucking off-field drama, and that's what eats up most of these interviews. And then a lot of the times they're not even asking the real questions, they're just asking questions because they want a reaction, essentially. So instead of asking like hey, your jump shot seems a little off, or your percentage at the free throw line hasn't been the best, or you had 5 turnovers today, how do you fix it? They're just like, yeah, you've been playing terrible. Like, are you smoking weed again? Like, I don't know. They don't say anything specifically like that, but a lot of the shit that they ask is just like shit that doesn't really exist. For example, Kuzma for the Lakers, he had a petition. He tried to do a behind the fucking head Magic Johnson pass to LeBron James, threw it fucking right out of bounds. The Lakers lost game 3. And a petition was started during the game that Kyle Kuzma is a fuckboy and doesn't deserve a ring. And I think it has over 10,000 signatures now. And they even asked Kyle Kuzma after the game, and he just said, Twitter's not real. Basically, I don't give a fuck. But that's that drama that, like, they just get wrapped around because they're just looking for clickbait. And I fucking hate that. Okay. That's one thing that, like, if I can strive for this podcast, like I know you've told me things about it and I appreciate all of your fucking blessings and your fucking compliments, but I don't want to be clickbaity. I don't ever want to, you'll never guess what my fucking guest said today on the podcast. Like, I never want to fucking do that. I just want to have I just want to have a chill conversation with my bros, eventually with celebrities and public figures, sports idols. I just want to have a good conversation. I don't want to be like, oh, fucking hard. I mean, like, I'm not like a Jake Tapper, or I'm not trying to get that fucking interview that's good. I'm not interviewing the president on hard fucking facts. I'm just bullshitting on a podcast because it's free and you can do it, you know?
Yeah.
But back to your point.
Well, there's also a lot of hot takes too.
Hot takes. Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers has touched on that as well. I forget the show that he went on. I wish I could remember because I'd give them a shout out, but he gave them a really good compliment because a lot of the first takes are Skip and Shannon. How does Skip sound? He'll be like, Shannon Sharpe, here's Shannon Sharpe. Skip. Let me tell you what, Skip, Big Baller Brand, Skip. And we'll see how Big Baller Brand. They take those fucking, like, Max Kellerman, by the way, is the most fucking ridiculous. I don't know why he has a job. Go back to boxing. Still needs to apologize for Tom Brady. He takes fucking terrible. One of them was like, I think it was Andre Iguodala or Steph Curry. I don't. This might be a misquote, but I'm pretty sure there was a question that was asked. Who do you want to take? If you have your fucking life, if someone has a gun to your fucking head, essentially, it's like last shot of the game, make or break it. Who do you want to take that 3-pointer? Andre Iguodala or fucking Steph Curry? Fuck, I'm picking Steph Curry 9 days a fucking week, okay? And he's like, oh, Andre Iguodala. Like, dude, get the fuck out of here, dude. No one would fucking – just agree with your fucking co-host and fucking move on, you know?
Yeah, it's the ratings, it's the hot take, and then a problem I have a lot now with which I've actually kind of turned off a lot of the sports shows. It's gotten too political. I love politics. I watch politics, but I don't want politics in my sports.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a place for it, but there's also not a place for it. When I agree, if there's hard-hitting issues in the United States and public figures step up to talk about it, and they like the NFL game where they all held hands together just to show that they're unified and they still got booed. That's bullshit. Okay. They're just trying to fucking show, like, let's fucking get along, you fucking assholes. But when you're like sitting here in sports and you're like, you need to vote for this fucking president, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Your opinion shouldn't fucking persuade other fucking people on who to vote for. Okay.
Or they're looking for kind of another hot taker that, like, as you were saying, the clickbaitiness, right? I want to catch him saying something that I can roast him. So, for example, LeBron has been very outspoken about BLM and police brutality and all that, right? Well, was it a few weeks ago, those Los Angeles cops or Los Angeles County cops that were shot and killed?
Right.
Well, not shot and killed, but they were shot and they were in the hospital.
Right.
Well,
the guy, I believe it was, there was an execution. Like, he walked right up to the cop car and killed.
Or tried to kill them. I don't think he ended up killing them.
Right.
And the sheriff or chief of police or whatever goes, hey, LeBron, why don't you donate money to them or whatever?
Yeah,
and then
why don't you essentially up the bounty for tips or something like that? Yeah.
So, kind of like you raising money for everything else. And so then the news interviews LeBron about it. And LeBron had already gotten done saying, like, I don't condone violence on police. I don't think people should just hurt police. This is about an open dialogue,
Yeah.
And then I think another reporter asked another question. I might be wrong. And then he's like, look, I don't want to talk about the police.
Right.
He'd already answered the question. Well, what do they blast on the headlines? LeBron says he doesn't want to talk about the police.
Yeah, it's taking things out of context. It's
Out of
instead of taking the
context.
entire paragraph, they take one fucking explicitive sentence and they fucking put that shit on the
And
fucking
then
line.
and people see it, and then they're like, "Oh my god, fuck LeBron. He hates the police. He's just a race baiter." And you're just sitting there going, "Bro." And like that's what I hate about this current like. It's all clickbait. It's all
Era
there's
that we're living in.
era we're living in. So that's why I've kind of changed a little bit. I still want to do the journalism thing, but I've changed a little bit the path I'm going now. And I want to study sports from a anthropological standpoint, right? Anthropological, yeah.
Sounds smart.
So,
yeah.
so from like so getting a master's, then hopefully a PhD in cultural anthropology, right? I want to study the historical and current impact sports have on culture globally.
Yeah, that's dope.
But so
Sounds
that's
like a good book.
I think it'd be fun, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's why I find it fascinating that in like England, how, you know, how soccer is to them. And that like, if American sports could just if we could do that, if we could just have town hall meetings with CEOs, the
Keep
GMs
Keep going.
GMs
I got to turn off my dehumidifier. Keep going.
Okay. But like GMs and coaches and players, and actually have the fans come in and ask the questions, right? And I'm not saying like you would tell the fans before they come into the building, be like, look, dude, you're not going to troll here. You're not going to do any kind of bad mouth trash talk, right? Ask legitimate questions.
Right.
And because there's so many fans that have legitimate questions that never get answered, and they get super frustrated, you know? And if you just sat them down and you said, hey, no trolling, none of that. Now, here's a question from this fan.
Yeah, it's hard though because there's so many trolls. That's why credibility as a reporter is important. And that's why people go to school for it, because like as much as you would like to let every fan ask questions, there's just too many fucking trolls out there.
True. And that's why if there was a way to kind of what do you call it?
Filter?
Filter out the bad ones and say, you know, like give it to the season pass holders, for example, get first
question. Yeah. Or like, you know, you have a moderator who reads comments and says, oh, this is a good question, and kicks that comment. Like no fan essentially needs to talk to a superstar as much as you'd like to, but you can still type in your question to get asked, you know? And that would actually be like a cool, like, you know, if I ever made the main stage, you know, like let's say like, hey man, I got fucking like any sports figure, like I mean, hey guys, I got Aaron fucking Rodgers coming on the podcast. Tweet at me some questions that you would like to ask Aaron Rodgers. I'm not gonna ask like, hey Aaron, how was fucking Danica? You know, like that's fucking none of my business. Like that's a personal relationship. I'm not here for that bullshit. But like, hey man, like what's your diet like? Or what are some things that you do for fun? You know, because I know he likes whiskey, and I know that when they drafted Love, he had 4 fingers deep of tequila. I'll never forget that, because I always go up to my glass and I'm like, fucking Aaron Rodgers probably has bigger hands, and that's at least a half fucking glass of just tequila, you know, 4 fingers.
Yeah.
You know? But you know, it'd be cool to do that. And I always tell the people who listen, hey, just shoot comments, tweet me, like, let me know what you guys want to hear, and I'll try to bring in somebody or talk about it, you know? I want to get the community engaged before, I mean, knock on wood, but, you know, this might never take off, but if it does, there gets to a certain point, like Joe Rogan level, where you don't have the time to answer all your fans like that.
Well, your numbers are growing. Your subscriber numbers are growing.
Yeah, I mean, they've gone up. My Twitch is halfway there to becoming an affiliate. Because essentially, if I could create my own lifestyle, I would just game 3 days a week and shoot podcasts 2 to 3 days a week. If I could make if I could make a livable, sustainable amount of money off of that, that'd be such a fucking great life, you know?
Yeah, and if you can get any which one, like if you could get the YouTube subscribers first
Oh
or
yeah,
vice
yeah,
versa, the
yeah.
Twitch,
No,
then obviously everything else goes up.
Twitch for me is like it's a hobby, but at the same time, like I do this and I try to multimedia market. If I had to pick one or the other, I'd rather have the podcast go off, um, and I'd rather like essentially, if I had to build a headquarters without moving, I would be like give me money to build a studio in Detroit. It's a major market. It's an international airport. I love the city of Detroit. I don't want to move to LA. Fuck that. I'd rather spend my budget on flying people out to Detroit rather than. I mean, that's the biggest thing in like I'm gonna say this is my redshirt freshman season of me pursuing my career dream of being a stand-up comedian because of COVID. So that's why it's my redshirt freshman season.
Yeah, you got to put an asterisk on this year.
Yeah, it's hard though because like I'm looking at Austin because Joe Rogan's gonna build. Not that I'm so good that I'm gonna fucking go there, but they've got a large scene and they're about to get even bigger. The housing market is extremely cutthroat right now. It's not a lot of property for a lot of money. It's booming, as Antonio Brown, when he used to play in the NFL, would say. And LA's going downhill, and I know shit's gonna get really cheap out there, but do I want to fucking move to LA? Their
I don't. I
taxes.
wouldn't.
No, yeah, it's like if I have to move to California, I'm probably gonna move to Sacramento. I've got a homie there. I've already got technically a property that we can rent out to start. That's the landlord is his relative, his grandma, and there's a good stand-up scene in Sacramento for sure. But it's hard to make those choices, based on where we're living at. But for me, committing to LA is probably one of the hardest things that I don't know if I ever can do.
That and it's a numbers game too.
Yeah.
Like how many people go to Los Angeles to become an actor or an actor?
Everybody.
Or even New York City, right? How many people go there to get on Broadway or something, So
Yeah.
if you can make a name for yourself in whatever area of the United States you're in,
Yeah.
all like we've talked about before, all it takes is that one person. You get that one agent, right?
One friend of an agent, one wife of an agent, one agent, Yeah.
One agent, one friend of Joe Rogan, one cousin of
Yeah.
Bert Kreischer or something, and then they go like, oh, we're on a family vacation in Detroit, or if you were to go to Sacramento, like we're on a family vacation in Sacramento, and they're like, oh, there's a little stand-up place, and they go and sit down, and you're up there and you kill it, and then they're like, I like this guy, let me hit up my cousin Bert, like, yo,
Yeah.
this dude is hilarious, you need to talk
Bert.
to him.
I love Tom.
And then I just watched Bert's one of his stand-ups last night, but
his new one.
No, it was the one where he's talking about how I was dying laughing when his daughter was playing at softball practice and the coach was not using real balls because he didn't want to treat. God, I'm not a comedian. Because he didn't want them to experience failure yet.
Okay.
So he was like fake hitting invisible balls, and the kids are turning plays, and Bert Kreischer's like, never seen a triple play before. And then the guy's like, all right, I'm hitting it out to Isla. And he hits the ball out to center field, and Isla starts backing up, and then she turns and she starts running, and it goes over her head, and then she just takes her gloves and throws it on the ground, and Bert's like, are you serious? You can't even catch a fake invisible ball?
Yeah.
And then he asked about it in the car with her, and she just goes, yeah, the coach got a hold of that one.
Yeah.
So I probably just butchered that entire set.
No, it's okay. If you want the real joke, go to Netflix. Bert Kreischer, he's got a few stand-up specials on there. I recommend Tom Segura. They're like Tom Segura for me right now is like prime fucking rib. I watch his 3 stand-up specials on Netflix all the fucking time. He's a funny motherfucker to me right now. I watch Your Mom's House with him and Krzyzina Pazinski. I think I said that right. I listen to Two Bears, One Cave. Joe Rogan Experience. Those are primarily my 3. Time Suck, recommended by Earl. I pick and choose topics on that one. It's a guy who talks a lot, but there's certain people that I really like to watch, and they make a lot of sense. But the only problem with like getting discovered is like, especially for Joe, because he talks about it, he's like, it's hard because so many people come up to me and they're like, hey, I have a guy. I'm like, hey, I got a guy, you know? When it's probably going to take like that one random ass opportunity to where like, fuck, hey, fucking Bert Kreischer's in the studio, he'd fucking kill it tonight. And I'd probably just throw up right on stage, you know? I'd probably be way too nervous.
Or if they don't tell you, and like Joe
Oh,
is sitting in the audience, you
in the
know, because
back,
he's
yeah.
just chilling, and boom, you get up there, kill it, and Joe's just like, I like this guy, I want to bring him on my show or whatever, you know. And
I just got to write better jokes. I mean, I write all the time, which is still good even through COVID, because what else am I going to do? Not come up with new material? It's not like I can hang on to the material from last. I mean, some of the not that my material's been out there, but I'm not a huge current event. Like I'm not like, oh, COVID-19. Like I'm not a huge current event. Like I'm not a huge political thing either, to where like uh, I'm more of like an observational storytelling type comedian, if I had to like label myself.
yeah, I mean, you got to keep your brain fresh, right?
Yeah,
So
I talk a lot in the mirror. Um, I will turn on the shower, and when the shower's warming up, I'll pull out my phone and just talk to myself in the mirror like a fucking crazy man. And
there's nothing wrong with that.
like there was a joke the other day that I wrote 4 different ways, and after talking it through and retyping it, I was talking with Cut, and then I was like, "Hey, man, let me bounce this off, and you give me your best 2 that you think will work." And he's like, "No, yes, no, yes," you know, essentially. So it's kind of like, how can I? For me, it's like, how can I make a joke? Okay, I have it. What's another angle? How is this joke from looking from the other side? And that's and a lot of people who get mad, it's because they like living in today's society is because it's either A or B, Trump or Biden, blue or red, liberal or conservative. There's no middle ground.
You
And
have to
that's
be
what,
a label, yeah.
yeah. And like when you just say fuck that, and you just kind of like, hey, I see your side of it, I know we don't agree, cool, whatever. I mean, there's always certain topics, like if you're a fucking asshole racist, go fuck yourself. But you know, if you want to vote for Trump, okay, see you later. Like, have a good day. Like, hey man, you want to hang out Tuesday? I don't give a shit who you vote for. I don't ever ask. It's none of my fucking business. I still talk about it with my friends. But to me, like the people who are like, if you're voting for Trump, then you can go fucking jump off a bridge and fucking die. And I'm just like, why? Like, why can't you just like it never was like that when, I mean, I don't know. I was really young when Bill Clinton was running. I remember the Al Gore race against Bush. But even after Bush got reelected, it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah, this has been one of the most polarized times. I was on a webinar for school yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and the guest, the special guest, we were actually supposed to see him last in the spring, but because of COVID or whatever, it got canceled. So they did this webinar. His name
Right.
is Todd May. He's a political philosopher, a moral philosopher, and he was actually one of the what do you call them? Not, I guess, an expert on a TV show. You know, where they
Okay.
kind of put their input in to kind of what the actors should say and what the writers should write about and so on and so forth. So he did that for the show The Good Life,
Okay.
with Kristen Bell or whatever. And so he's a professor of philosophy at Clemson University. And one of the things he was talking about was like, okay, we have a moral responsibility. You know, if there's something going on in the world, morally, you could be guilty of not doing anything. So he brought up, you know, the Holocaust. If you were Germans that were just quiet and didn't say anything and speak out against Hitler's regime, right? You're morally guilty for the atrocities, so on and so forth. Well,
Right.
one of the questions I had asked them, and this is kind of what you're talking about, which they actually got to my question, I said this long thing, but basically I ended it with, how do you fight a negative culture, right? Without alienating those that are on the fence to your cause. So basically, if you were to take a Trump supporter who's on the fence, or maybe not a Trump supporter, but like you've got someone who's on the fence and he's like, I don't like Biden, but I don't like Trump, but I don't really like what Biden's doing. I kind of want to vote for Trump, but I'm not sure yet. He hasn't really done anything too bad that I don't disagree with.
Right.
And then you're on that fence, and then somebody looks at you and goes, "Oh, what? You're even thinking about voting for him? You're a racist." And then that person goes, "Okay, not voting for your candidate." You know what I mean? And so, like, how do you bring them over to your side? And so there's, like you said, without getting too political, it's just, we can't agree to disagree anymore. Everybody.
You agree with me or fuck off and kill yourself. That's how a lot of people are treating voting these days.
They're ending relationships with friends that they've had for 20 plus years. They're stopped talking to family members. It's just like,
I'm a single man, ladies, but when I'm using Tinder, I don't get a lot of likes on there. No, but anyways, when I'm using Tinder or like looking at Tinder and I read bios that say swipe left if you vote for Trump, I'm just like, how are you like that not that like again, I'm not voting. I'm not going to vote for Trump. I'm not going to vote for Biden, but I'm just saying, how are you that fucking, how are you like that? Like, why is someone's political, like, it's hard. I forget who it was. There was a couple where I think it was someone who was working under the Trump administration and her husband was like,
Kellyanne Conway.
Yeah. They made it work for a while. I know she doesn't do it anymore, but
yeah, she left.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's gotten to the point where like everyone just wants to agree on everything, or you're a bigot.
Well, that'd be like, so you're on Tinder, right? Or you're on let's not even say Tinder.
Right.
You go on a date with somebody and you guys start talking. And you're like, man, this is the girl that I want to be with. She is everything. She is the perfect package. She is everything that I've ever looked for in a significant other. I think I found him. People look for years for that right one, right? Mm-hmm. I think I've just found this person. And that girl's feeling the same way about you too, because you're vibing.
Right.
And then she's like, I'm like, so favorite football team? Cowboys? Ooh. Right. Deal breaker. We're done.
Right.
Deuces. Have a great life. Nice meeting you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Or for you, what is it? The Bears? The Lions?
I love the Bears quarterbacks.
Viking?
No, honestly, like for NFL teams and even for Big Ten teams, like I've previously dated someone who was a Michigan State supporter. And I'm like, cool. Like, as long as you're not like, I mean, like, if you were an actual fan that actually watched the fucking games and actually knew what was going on, and like, oh, I saw that they won, so I'm gonna rub it in your face. Like, no, that's like, you didn't watch the game. Like, you didn't watch what happened. You just saw the score, and like, that's a terrible fan. And I don't care if you're like, it'd be harder for me if you were an Ohio State fan, to be real, because I would bring dishonor on my family. But realistically, like, as long as like we can get along, like one of my favorite teachers and track coaches and mentors, and someone that I still talk to today, I'm in one of his fantasy leagues. His wife's an Ohio State fan and he's a Michigan fan, but they make it work,
Yeah,
it happens.
I think it honestly would be harder. First and foremost, if you're basing your potential of an entire relationship, or you're basing your entire relationship, I'm no relationship expert, but solely based off of like political views or certain opinions on certain things, or sports opinions, sports teams, like, come on, man. There's more. Biden now. Come on, man. But there's more to life than just that. But I think it would be harder to do it for a sports fan, because if you were to base an entire potential relationship off of a presidential candidate or a president, you go, man, there's only 8 years max that this person could be in office.
Mhm.
you know, and then you're never going to see them and have to deal with them again
Yeah,
running the country.
they're just gonna give their opinion. If I was still president, this is how I would
Yeah.
handle it. Like,
And you could just ignore that. But
which are
like
not.
but like a sports fan, that would be a little bit more difficult long term because that team's always going to be there.
It just depends how toxic you are to other. Like, prior to being in the military, I was probably more of a toxic sports fan than I am now. But when
Yes.
you when you join the military and you forget your differences and where you were raised and you meet people, like, that's one of my, like, talk. I would never go back. I love that I got out. I love that I did my years. But when you go to a place you've never been before by yourself and you are in an organization within the military where you're surrounded by these people that you've never met, you're like, you might know a few people here and there if you're lucky. And then if your career goes on, oh yeah, you were with me at this base and I met you on this deployment. But when you're at your first base and you're in a squadron with, let's say, 400 people and you know nobody, when I went to Cannon, primarily the flights that I was on, I had a huge Big Ten community, and I fucking thought that was awesome. And even though Miller's a fucking Ohio State fan and you're a Penn State fan, like, I don't care. Like, you guys are so fucking cool to kick it with. Like, yeah, like Marsano rubs it in my face. Uh, Miller will give me a jab now and then. You know, he'll let me know, and I understand. But honestly, I became less of a toxic. I became more of like especially for example, national championship basketball, Chicago Loyola, Michigan Villanueva, and I forget who Villanueva beat in the Final Four. I was at both games.
They beat Kansas.
Kansas. Okay, so San Antonio, Texas. Flew my dad. Okay, I saw the game. I called my dad. I said, hey, Michigan is about to go to the fucking Final Four. I'm 8 hours away. My fucking flight chief already said I could take leave for it. I'm going to the national championship game. If you pay for your hotel, if you split the hotel with me, which my brother and my dad actually paid for my hotel, I was like, I will buy you fucking tickets. So they flew down. We walked around San Antonio, and they had tents: Kansas, Villanueva, Michigan, Chicago Loyola. They had these like sections, but then like I'm walking around, I'm minding my own goddamn business, and then these college kids would come up. You know, I'm only I was in my late 20s, and these kids would come up and be like, "Oh, fuck Michigan." So then I take it upon myself, if you're gonna come fuck me, I'm gonna come and fuck you. So I said, -10 points to Gryffindor. And I would just like fucking call them Harry Potter school, and, you know, I would give them shit. But not once did I approach another fan that I did not know and just start talking shit to their face because I thought that I was entitled to. Now, if I was 18 or in college, and even when I was at and I will say this, even when I was at Central Michigan University, my boy Earl Stanhope went to Western, okay? He went to Western. Every time that Earl and I would visit each other's campuses, we would have a fucking great time. But there's certain fans that I know, even in my family, fucking Western. I'm like, who gives a shit? I understand the rivalry. I appreciate the fucking game. But if you can't kick it with your fucking homie, you got a problem.
Well, and when you were telling the story about the Final Four or whatever, that was like when you came down to St. Pete and we were out on First Friday. I know you've told the story on here before, but you're wearing your Packers sweatshirt.
Yeah.
And the dude just randomly comes up to you as we're leaving one of the bars.
Talking shit.
And yeah, he's a Bears fan.
Yeah, he didn't have any Bears on. He didn't have anything on. And I asked him politely, hey, who's your team? I want to know who's your team.
Yep.
And he said, Bears. And I said, oh, you're going to shit on me? You're going to shit on me. You're going to talk shit about me. Okay. Jay Cutler, Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, period. I love
them. Who was...
Especially when your team thrives and people talk shit to you and you don't know them, then you're just like, you're bad. You're bad at the game.
I can't remember who they went to the Super Bowl with against the Colts, who their quarterback was. He was trash. Their defense carried them that year.
Brian Urlacher on defense. It wasn't Brian Greasy. It was who was before Jay Cutler? Because Jay Cutler came from the Denver Broncos. Um, Here, I'm gonna Google it. Bears QB Super Bowl. Hey, dogs, quit whining. I know you hear those other dogs outside, and I really appreciate it. We're almost QB Super Bowl. Um, it is Rex Grossman.
Rex Grossman. Yes.
God damn, there's a name that I forgot about.
You remember Mario Sanchez?
Yes.
So he would troll me all the time because diehard Philly fan, other than the NFL. He liked the Redskins. And he always tried to tell me that Rex Grossman was a better quarterback than Donovan McNabb. So, but yeah, when you were talking about I used to be a horrible, we hear all the stories of Philadelphia fans. I was that toxic. I'm still pretty bad, but I'm not what I was when I was 17, 18. I remember being 16 years old and being at a Phillies game, and we were destroying the Mets, but we were still like 10 games back from the NL East, and we were going to lose. We weren't making the playoffs. And I was ragging on this Mets fan. She's like, your team sucks, so on and so forth. I forget what everything I was saying to him. And I'm like 16, 17 years old, and this dude's like a full-grown man. He's like 35 or something. And he's like looking back at me. He's cursing at me, yelling at me. We're back and forth. And then he stands up, and then you've got all the other Philly fans around me stand up. And they're like, hey, that's a kid, man. They ignored everything I was saying as a kid.
Right.
And then he starts saying some pretty vicious stuff. And then they're like, that's a kid, man. You're going to talk to a kid like that, you piece of shit. And so I used to be that fan. I was very, very toxic. And like I said, I still am. I remember watching a game with you guys, you and Pepper. It was the Eagles Seahawks on a Sunday Night Football.
Right.
And I crashed. And the Eagles, this is the year we went to the Super Bowl and won. And the Seahawks had beat us. And prior to them beating us, they showed like this old lady and kid in the stands cheering. And I was like, fuck you, old lady. I was like, fuck you. I hope you die soon.
Yeah.
And that little kid sitting there goes, and I'm trashing little kid. And you and Pepper look at me and you're like, bruh.
Yeah.
It's not that serious.
Yeah. And yeah, you were trash though. I mean, there's a certain point. My philosophy is I've been to Aaron Rodgers' career worst NFL football game in Denver. 78 yards, 1 interception, no touchdowns. I was there. I was in Mile High Stadium, sitting with nobody, went all by myself, and I got fucking heckled. I've been heckled in Detroit at Ford Field. Terrible environment for the opposing team when you get around a bunch of drunks. Green Bay's a very nice place to go watch sports. So if you're just gonna there's friendly, ha ha ha, but then there's assholery. I'm not gonna be an asshole to you anymore if you're not gonna be an asshole to me. Now we can talk shit a little bit, or have a conversation, and I don't know. You can come up and be like, "Hey man, fuck you," and I'd be like, "Oh fuck you." But if you're gonna come and just talk shit to me, be fucking prepared, because I'm a fucking ginger and I grew up getting shit talked to me, so I know a thing or two about talking some shit.
Yeah, it's you get older and you realize some of the dumb shit, isn't really necessary anymore. Being a toxic sports fan, I didn't know anything about politics, but yet I would insult people and talk to them like I knew what I was talking about. And now that I look back on it, I go, man, I didn't know shit. I still don't know shit. And so I try to avoid those conversations.
Yeah, there's more I could know, but when you know, you know, and when you don't, you don't.
Exactly.
Right. Anything else that you want to press the issue or promote or talk about?
Not that I could think of. I mean, obviously the page on Facebook is an NFC East page, but if anyone out there listening is an NFC East fan, go to NFC East Report 24/7.
I'll leave the link in my YouTube video. So if you're listening to the podcast, go to jtfjbl.com and you can click the YouTube button and it'll tell you where that's at.
Okay, yeah. So I mean, we try to do a mix of actually talking sports, being um, like taking time into our posts, looking up statistics and stuff. But that's not what sells on social media anymore. It's all about the memes and
Memes. Love
um, insulting and stuff like that. So we do a lot of trolling. So I mean, there's about 94,000 followers. So if you um, just want to come and talk NFC's trash, then other than that, I just want to. I hope the Eagles can pull out.
Hey, they're
But
first in the
another
division. They're first in the. They're 1-2-1. They're first
one,
in the
two, and
division.
one.
Yeah.
Maybe a Super Bowl start of a Super Bowl run here.
Yeah. My Packers are 4-0 heading into the bye week. I was going to add this to a callback. Talking about injuries, the Packers this season have been like Devontae Adams really wanted to play last night, and the coach wanted him to play, and he wanted to play, and Aaron Rodgers wanted him to play, so it had to come down from a higher power, either the GM or the doctor who's asking, or the GM who asked the doctor, especially going into the bye week. Like, hey, you're almost like you're probably 90%. I don't know what his percentage actually was, but they said you're going to rest this week. We got a bye week next week. So Devontae Adams will be 100% coming out of the bye week. So it sucks that my off weekend, the Packers don't play. For me this weekend, Cut and I were supposed to do a 24-hour stream with each other. But Cut had his schedule mixed around and he will be out of the 24-hour stream because he's got other plans, which is unfortunate. So now I'm on this fence of, do I play video games by myself for 24 hours? So I've got a lot of thinking to do this week.
I think you is there. I know you guys are doing a little visit. He's coming up or
Right.
going up to Michigan. Have you ever, and you've got Real Fake Gary's going up there also, right?
Yeah.
Pushing that 24-hour stream. I know you're probably trying to jam pack a lot of things into
Well, it's
that.
sober October right now. So I was like, man, I should go visit a buddy that I haven't seen in a while. But I mean, I'd just be a lame ass. So I'm going to wait till I have liberties that I'm going to give myself. But Sober October's gone great so far. It's October 6th, like I said. I started on the 28th of September. But honestly, like after that first week, you get it's hard to kick the habits, especially like when you play video games, like celebratory beer, like usually when we play like Warzone or something or Apex or something and we win a game, I don't smoke cigarettes, but they'll take the people I do smoke, they do smoke cigarettes and they'll take a smoke break and we'll get on like FaceTime or whatever and they'll have a cigarette and we'll still talk to each other. But it's so weird to like, okay, I'm going to keep drinking my tea and water and cranberry juice.
It's tough. I was trashed Friday night, so
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I mean like I'm not gonna hold that against you for playing video games because like we were right at the end of it anyway. So if I really wanted to play, if we really wanted to play competitively and try to win one, we played 2K for like 3 hours. So we were just like, oh, let's just I was like, I'll see what Frank's up to. By the way, Apex as of last night is um, what's the goddamn word? Crossplat. So it's in its
oh wow.
crossplat beta right now. So I got to figure out how to invite people to that. But it'll come up. It shows a little controller if they're not Xbox. So the times that we died last night was more Xbox on Xbox violence than anything. It wasn't so much of I mean, I got killed by either a PlayStation or a PC. I don't know if they're using the same because Xbox hates PlayStation so much that it doesn't say Sony next to their name. It just has a
Okay.
little controller next to it. So I don't know if that means they're on PlayStation or if they're on PC. I got to do some digging into that. But if I do end up doing this 24-hour stream, I'm probably going to have to pick some games that I can campaign and beat. Like, hey, this is going to eat up 8 hours. But I could also do home renovations. It's really tough. So, I'll be deciding that this week. I
Definitely.
just did the one chip challenge yesterday.
I saw that.
Honestly, not the worst thing I've ever eaten that was hot. It was very intense for the first 10 minutes. Very intense. And honestly, just to prove it, if they're still on sale, they're only like $7. I'm probably going to buy another one, do a podcast. I'm going to eat it right at the beginning of the podcast and I'm going to just do an hour-long podcast because people are like, oh, do an hour. And I'm like, dude, no one wants to fucking sit on Facebook and watch me fucking babble on for an hour. LOL, that's what this is. But if I have like a topic or, a guest or something to talk about, like, listen to it or whatever. But honestly, if you can get past that first 10 minutes, dude, you're golden as a goose.
You look like you struggled more when you did
The hot sauce?
the chicken nugget.
Yeah, that was hotter. I think I don't know if it's consistency or that it's because of a liquid, but I'm gonna look up other sauces or other hot sauce challenges to do. I know that we might be doing the entire when Gary gets here, when Gary and Cutter are here for our vacation week, we might be doing the whole hot ones 10 in a row. We're going to do chicken nuggets because it's less messy. And you can get more sauce. I mean, you can get more sauce on either or, but we're going to do we might do the hot ones challenge, but if we end up not doing it, because the box is like $110, so we're kind of like splitting it 3 ways. But if we end up not doing it, I'll probably get a couple hot sauces to do. But if we do it, then I'm just going to set up a table, and then we're not going to be. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, hot ones where I ask questions, and you're like, oh my god, how did you fucking know that? And I'm like, because I've got a really good research team. But we're just going to like do them all and like describe how we feel about them, and it should be about a half an hour episode. We also kind of want to do like a cooking show. I think that would be really funny. But we're just gonna have a good time, drink beers,
Hell yeah.
have a good time. And then
Chill.
2021 for Florida, that's hopefully on the menu.
Chilling with the boys. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, crack a cold one of them for the boys. Other than that, Frank, where can we reach you on social media? I know you mentioned your NFC page.
I am A_MERIKA 1776 on Twitter. I think I'm the same on Instagram. I don't really use Instagram. I'm mostly on Facebook and Twitter.
Okay. Well, anyways, find me at jtofjville.com, Instagram handle jtofjville, Twitter at jtofjville, Twitch jtofjville. That's JTOFJVILLE. Thanks for tuning in to the 53rd episode of the JT Show. I appreciate all my listeners, followers. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that shit. If you want me to talk about, try to bring on guests, give me different topics, I'm always open. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. And Frank, thanks for coming.
Cool.
LOL.